what Jamaican government and any government for that matter can't prevent but are blamed for the truth beyond the noise. People, welcome back to the Skywalker channel, where good coffee makes bad people feel bad. But that's not a bad thing, is it? Today, we have a brew that can be too close to someone's nose and still they won't smell it. Come and let's talk, my people. I am really into this one. Do you ever feel like no matter what happens, the government gets blamed for everything? Prices are going up, wages feel like they aren't enough, crime rates seem to soar, and the streets buzz with frustration. Even the robot palm guy who is not looking for work is blaming the government for being unemployed. Have you noticed that yet? But how much of this can the government actually control, and how much of it is shaped by forces beyond Jamaica's borders? Today, we are pulling back the curtain to understand the hidden dynamics at play and asking ourselves, are we focusing on the wrong things? Let's go and analyze, but not like the Iceman who believes that if we don't have, we shouldn't buy. Andrew Holness, or every Jamaican leader, past or present, really had to be tough. Now that I think about it, no one likes being lied on, but he has to take that medicine, and many will choose not to believe him. It's like you can't speak for yourself. When the COVID 19 pandemic hit, it wasn't just Jamaica that suffered, it was the whole world. Our tourism industry, one of our lifelines, came to a halt. Jobs were lost, incomes dried up, and the government stepped in with stimulus efforts. But despite their best actions, many people still felt the pinch. Why? Because the fallout of global events like the pandemic is enormous. Let's look at today. Like now, prices are rising. People say not now go on. But let me ask, do you think Jamaica controls global inflation? When shipping costs go up because of fuel prices or supply chain disruptions, we all pay more. And here's a surprise. Countries like the UK and the US face these same struggles, and most people understand exactly why in their countries. Yet here at home, the frustration naturally turns toward the government. This is a crazy but true reality. It's a harder situation to deal with a less educated population in that sense. Our population is less enlightened when it comes to these kind of stuff. Take the cost of food. Remember when grain prices skyrocketed after the Ukraine war began? It wasn't because of anything happening in Kingston. It was global supply disruptions. But do most people think about that? No, they blame our leaders. And to be fair, the government does carry some responsibility to cushion the impact. But the truth is, they can only do so much. Opposition parties often jump in at this point and say the sitting government isn't doing enough. But let's ask ourselves, is that fair? And do they know that it is not fair? Yeah, they know, but it's gonna give them political mileage, especially because the citizens themselves are ignorant. Here in Jamaica, nature both blesses and challenges us. Hurricanes, droughts, and flood, they are a part of our life. When Hurricane Gilbert tore through, our or even more recently with other major storms. The damages cripple our economy. Crops are wiped out, roads are destroyed, and prices soar because of shortages. Yes, a lot of shortages. So the prices are gonna soar. Think about this. After a hurricane, food prices spike because of farms being devastated. Even with relief funds, can the government grow back crops overnight? No, of course not. But in these moments, you will hear people say, them not care about poor people. You ever notice that? And to make matters worse, opposition voices amplify those frustrations, turning them into blame games. Yeah, that's how it happens. Here's the real challenge with disasters. Prevention can only go so far. The government has improved preparedness, but Jamaica's geography makes us vulnerable. A hurricane doesn't ask which party is in power before striking. Yet, the public narrative often becomes, them nah do nothing for help. Is it always fair to place that blame? You know, um, no, here's a hot topic: wages and inflation. Recently, workers got a raise, a nice raise too, and you think people would be celebrating. But instead, many say, what raise? Everything more expensive now. This is a tough reality. Imagine you got a 10% pay hike, but inflation pushed prices up to 12%. It feels like you are worse off, right? Even though your paycheck technically grew. Still, you should realize that the 10% raise save you from hitting the floor. That's what was going to happen. So that 10% raise came just in time. For a hard-working government, it comes across as the people being ungrateful because things that are out of his control he's getting blamed for, even when he's literally helping you. But you take it for granted. Or maybe because you don't understand the things that are out of his reach. Inflation isn't just Jamaica's problem. The cost of living is rising around the world because of global issues like disrupted supply chains and higher energy prices. Still, here at home, all eyes turn to the government. The opposition seizes this moment to say, see, their policies are failing, like it has anything to do with their policies failing. But is it really about bad policies? Our global pressures. I tell you what, it is the latter. Think about the rising cost of gas. Jamaica doesn't produce oil, so we have to buy it at global market prices. When oil prices spike, so does transportation, electricity, and even food. Can the government negotiate better prices? Sometimes. But can they control the price of crude oil? Absolutely not. Still, politicians use this frustration to score points instead of explaining the complexities to the people around them. This brings us to a key point: misinformation. In Jamaica, like anywhere, politics thrives on perception. Opposition parties know this and they often exploit public misunderstandings. They amplify frustrations with slogans and half truths to erode the government's credibility. Look at crime, for instance. Crime is a decades old problem rooted in malculture, poverty, unemployment, and lack of education. It's a whole weave of things. It's not something a single government can solve overnight. But when crime rates rise, opposition voices paint the picture. They are not doing enough. This distracts from systemic solutions and creates a cycle of blame. Yeah. Moreover, it even prevents a solution because when both parties are fighting to send their fake rhetoric, it's distracting from the actual fight against the thing, the real reality. Even during the COVID-19 crisis, the opposition jumped on rumors about mismanaged funds. Audits later showed that many of those claims were baseless, but by then the damage to public trust had been done. It's a reminder of how easily propaganda can shift the narrative. So, where does that leave us as Jamaicans? If we are honest, we need a shift in mindset. We can't expect the government to have a magic wand. Instead, we should focus on two things: accountability for what can be controlled and understanding for what can't. That understanding starts with each of us asking questions, looking beyond the headlines, and seeking truth over noise. And for those in positions of leadership, like Marlon Morgan from the JLP's communication team, there's a challenge here too. It's your job to help everyday Jamaicans connect the dots. Explain these dynamics in a way that resonates with the man on the street. Because, yeah, you do a good job, and maybe that's why we notice you when we are talking about stuff like this. Don't leave space for ignorance to become fuel for division. You know, um, together we can move from blame to collaboration because that's what we want. That's the kind of plane that would move Jamaica forward. Not like both party fighting and we can never come back to reality. It's not working. That's the only way forward for Jamaica. Reality. Think on these things, my people. Peace out.